Hello everyone, welcome to this week's devlog. I hesitate to say the devlog for Jumpin' Jehoshaphat because Jehoshaphat is rather hard to spell and would be a discovery problem, so I will probably rename it, although I'm not sure to what just yet. So we'll call this the devlog for the game formerly known as Jumping Jehoshaphat. Anyway, I've made some really good progress this week on the level editor, which you can see here on screen. And I built a couple test levels just to show off the functionality. Fair warning though, I've made some changes earlier today that have introduced some user interface bugs, so expect to see some bugs as I demonstrate things here. So, starting from the top of the toolbar, or the tool window, we have a variety of settings for the levels. Of course, we have the standard load, new save, save as. But under that, we have the options. You can give the level a name, which this one doesn't currently have a name. You have a gravity setting, which changes the effect that gravity has on the kinematic object in the level. We have an air friction multiplier, which determines how how much air friction applies to velocity to slow you down. We have a background color, which you can see here. Right now it's just a gradient, but it can be anything. I can make it any color. Then there's a bug in my texture for my color selector, so you have to forgive that. But yeah, you can change the background to any gradient. We've got a rotation, which is buggy at the moment, so I'm not going to show it. We have an option to draw the grid, which is basically just every unit. And we have the ability to snap to the grid, or snap points. So when you're dragging objects or let's see here, elements of the objects, like the point here, it'll snap to the nearest point, which is indicate here by the snap increment. So it's snapping every quarter of a point. And then we have the item count. This is how many items are currently in the level, and that's the maximum number of items that can be in the level. This is all set by the game when you create the level editor. Or the level rather, not the editor. Underneath the options here, we have the layers. Essentially, each level has any number of layers you want it to have. Again, these are passed in when you create the level. So right now I have 5. Oh well, there's a bug. There should be 6. Where's that? Okay, there it is. Yeah, my GUI is a little bit buggy when it comes to resizing. But anyway, so we have 5 regular layers and a special layer for the collider. Each layer is rendered separately by the application, the game, and is done separately so that if you have a background layer that you want to have a blur effect on, or a special some special shader effect going on, whatever, you can do that easily. You can also have a parallax effect, which I have on this, but it's not very noticeable, and I'll show you that when I go to play the level. Each layer can be toggled on and off, so you're able to get things out of the way if you don't need them. And each layer, you select the layer you want to. It's sort of like Photoshop. Whichever layer you're on is the layer the sprites will be added to. And layers have, or the colliders are on their separate layer. And I've added a few more collider types. So we have a trigger line, a trigger circle, and a trigger rectangle. Basically what triggers are used to determine if an object is colliding with an area. So that can be used to determine if you fall into a pit, or it can be used to trigger some in-game event. you walk into a boss room and when you hit the trigger, it will steal the doors, or just whatever you want to happen with that area. And it can be a line, which is a one-way collision, a circle, or a rectangular area. So, and I've also added markers, which you can see one here. Basically, markers just are indicators that can be used to place gameplay elements, such as right here I'm using it to tell the game engine where to put the player at when this level loads up. And also I have the exit here, which is kind of hard to see, but I have an exit too. These can be used to mark enemies or traps or just gameplay events. If, say, you want a special environmental effect like wind or something like that, you could use a marker to indicate that. And then when you load level, the game engine would just cycle through the markers and apply the proper effect depending on what markers are there. And again, when you create the level editor, you pass in human readable types for the markers. So right now, I can select which one. And then you can also add additional text information, which can be parsed out and used to customize particular markers. I have tile support. While technically the level isn't, my platforming system isn't tile-based, I've made it so that it's easy to add tiles. Because a lot of platformer games are tile-based, so being able to easily place them and snap them and all that is it's convenient. So I can, for instance, if I go to the player level, I can come up here and we'll just add a new platform. We'll add one right here. So we'll just add a few here. And now there's a platform. Of course, that doesn't have any collision on it. So we have to go to the colliders level and add a new surface. And part of the bugginess is with dragging and everything, so this may be a bit problematic, but it seems to be working okay. Got to click several times. Oops. Oh, come on. Got to make sure the normals are facing the direction you want the collisions to be stopped. For instance, this is facing out, which means anything coming in towards it from this direction will be rebounded. So there, now we've added a new surface for the user to collide on. And below the tiles, we have blueprints. Forgive the janky look of it. But essentially, this is used to, for instance, this platform, I could make that a blueprint, and I could reproduce it. Right now, I don't currently have a way to select sprites and colliders to add them to a blueprint. But you just, let me select the player, and then I can select these, and then I can new blueprint from selected, name it, and it'll create it. I've already made one of this column here, so I'll go ahead and demonstrate how it's used. Just place the sprites there, and then we got to do the colliders on the collider level. And now I have that. So it makes it easy to duplicate level features. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. So we'll start the level, and we can bounce up here. Now warning, when I get to the door it won't do anything. I haven't programmed that gameplay element at all. But I don't know if you noticed the parallaxing. If you look at the background as he moves, it's very subtle, and this isn't a good level to show it off on. So let's load level 2, which is quite a bit bigger. And we'll, if you notice the background there, shifts a little bit differently than the foreground. So you could have foreground elements that parallax and background elements. And this little box is not to scale to these tiles compared to the original Jumpin' Jehoshaphat game. But again, focus this week has been on just getting the level editor working. So I have not been too concerned with gameplay elements. But yeah, so that's basically it for this week. The level editor still needs a bit of work. It's not user-friendly, as user-friendly as I would like it to be. But it's getting there, and hopefully, another week's worth of work, and it will be solid. I'm hoping to have this working well for Ludum Dare, which is next weekend. I'm planning on entering that and probably making a platformer of some type just to exercise this new code and give it a run through. So I'm going to spend another week working on the polishing the editor and the character controller. I want the character controller to work. Right now, I'll grab my controller here. Whoops, and yep, that's a bug that I still haven't figured out. It only happens occasionally. But anyway, I think I'm going to call it there. It's never a good thing to end a devlog on a crash, but that's how it goes today. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you later.